This is MIA2K Podcast, and we are your ticket from Miami to Seoul. We are your pilots, Kathy and Laura, two fun-seeking girls with obsessive fandom tendencies, taking you on a ride through the Hallyu wave from our perspective as opinionated, grown Latina fans from Miami.
Before we close the cabin doors, make sure you're following us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you like to watch, our in-flight podcast video is available on YouTube and Spotify.
Once we reach our cruising altitude, we'll be serving one thing and one thing only, piping hot tea. We're ready to fly into today's topic with our hot and sunny takes.
So fasten your seatbelts, sit back, relax, and prepare for takeoff.
Hello, everyone. While we're off for the summer, we thought we'd bring you our latest episode in smaller chunks.
Today, let's get into KQ Entertainment. Are they or are they not a small company? So KQ has always been super interesting for us because of Ateez. We love Ateez. So, of course, we're going to find their managing company entertaining. So KQ was founded in 2016 as a management company before they debuted their first boy group in 2018 with Ateez. They're a private company, and because they're private, they don't really have to provide records or accounts or anything to the public. So there's a lot less information about them. So music from KQ is distributed by Dreamist Company, which also distributes music for JYP, SM, and P Nation, among others. And they also have a partnership with Stone Music Entertainment for distribution. I don't know if you guys have noticed how sometimes Ateez music videos are shown in their own YouTube account, but also Stone Entertainment's account. And from what I understand, it's just to kind of like help them get more views or whatever. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the partners that KQ Entertainment mentions on their website, which are CJ ENM, Sony Music, and MyMusicTaste. And the reason why we are going to do that, you'll see a little bit later when we talk about KQ scandals and controversies. So this is kind of like a little backstory, so you guys kind of know.
Sure.
So CJ ENM is the entertainment and mass media division of CJ. CJ is a huge Korean conglomerate company. Like, it's huge. Part of their media content includes TVN, which is home to K-dramas like Hotel de Luna and Crash Landing on You.
Yeah.
Their music content includes Mnet Music Channel, Mama Awards, Take On,
Damn.
and they also have other partnerships with entertainment companies like B-Lift Labs, which is home to Hypen.
And we mentioned them
AOMG.
on the episode on Hype. So yeah.
Right. AOMG and Higher. I would like to also mention that KQ is not actually on CJ ENM's website, but CJ ENM is on KQ's website. So that's like a little weird.
Interesting.
So Sony Music and KQ started their partnership back in 2017. So that's pre-Ateez debut. And they did it through equity investment. Equity investment is money put into a company for shares. So they just basically bought shares of KQ. KQ is at least linked on Sony Music UK's website, and it appears to be like a recent link because the link goes to Ateez's new website or app. I want to mention that because when I was researching, it wasn't that easy to find articles about KQ and Sony that were recent. Most of them were when they first joined hands in 2017.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And then finally, MyMusicTaste is a fan-initiated live event making service that brings fans, artists, and promoters from all over the world together in one place to create a valuable and meaningful concert experience for everyone involved. So basically, from what I read, they just kind of gather data and share it with the companies and the venues and stuff to see where the artist would be most welcome if they wanted to go on tour or create content, that kind of stuff. Sure. It's like super random. So KQ Entertainment is home to Ateez, Maddox, and Xikers. And one of their subsidiaries was formerly managing BlockB. The reason why I gave a little bit of like a backstory on their partners is because when I was looking into KQ, the biggest controversy surrounding KQ is KQ a small company? When you research KQ and small company, you will find like a bunch of Reddit and like quora articles where like fans ask literally the same question over and over and over and over. So like, what's the big deal? Why do we care? And the reason why we care is KQ always has had this narrative around them that they're a small company battling it out to make it in the industry, and Ateez is leading their way, and they're going from this tiny little company to like this huge company that will grow and have more groups or whatever, with Ateez being what's bringing them to like the forefront of K-pop.
Right.
A lot of people are annoyed also by Ateez, like I would consider rapid rise within the K-pop industry. And they kind of use the fact that they have partnerships with these bigger companies to undermine Ateez's trajectory. They also say that because KQ used to manage BlockB, which used to be a pretty big group in South Korea. Zico was part of it. I think is still part of it. They kind of just use all of this to say, well, Ateez didn't really work hard. They had all these people with money to make them popular. And like, you'll see there's countless articles and like it's all crazy and back and forth and you're stupid and blah, blah, blah. And
normal K-poppy behavior online.
Literally.
Just girly things. Yeah.
Literally. And some aunties, I don't know if you guys know this, but Ateez was part of the Kingdom reality show back in 2021. And a lot of aunties were saying that Ateez was doing really well on that program because they have ties to CJ ENM.
Right, because they produce all the stuff. So
right. Yeah. So they're like, oh, of course they're doing well. When honestly, like if you see the stages, they just did well. Like, sorry.
Period.
So KQ basically said that, well, with all of this, the only thing that they cared about was people saying that Ateez was getting better treatment because of whatever partnership. And basically, KQ said that they would be filing a defamation lawsuit against Post, damaging KQ and their artist reputation, and that they partner with many domestic and foreign companies, but they operate independently. So again, just because they partner doesn't mean that CJ ENM owns part of the company or anything like that. However, we will never know, or we won't know for sure because they're private, so they don't have to say anything.
Right.
And honestly, people need to chill the fuck out. Like, I think it's very obvious that KQ has tried to bring the best possible environment for Ateez and xikers. Like, from the very beginning, partnering with Sony before they even debuted Ateez shows that they were trying to make sure that Ateez had all the available resources to them to be able to succeed. And if Ateez wasn't such a great group of talented people, they wouldn't have made, right, even with all the backing, it still wouldn't have mattered. Like, it really just, they're talented, and that's why they've been able to take the resources that they've had and excel.
Do something with it. Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, if you look, Ateez debuted with a music video where they were in Morocco. You don't really usually see groups from small companies having such elaborate music videos for a debut. But again, if the songs had been crappy or they have had zero charisma, it would have just flopped.
Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered if they were in the moon. Like, they wouldn't have done anything.
Right. And if you ask me, is KQ Entertainment a small company? I would say if you compare them to like Big Hit, JYP, SM, YG, they are. However, when you compare it to some of the other companies that we'll be talking about, I'd say they're about the same. So like, I wouldn't consider them a small company. I'd consider them maybe like a mid-sized company at this point, just because of the amount of success that Ateez has gotten internationally and in South Korea. What do you think?
Fair. Yeah, I think all the controversy, like you said, from people just going back and forth on forums that literally have too much time on their hands, it's just stupid because like no one's taking the credit away from Ateez. Like you said, like if they weren't as good as they are, they wouldn't have made the splash that they did. So I think it's normal to kind of question things a little bit because it called our attention to like know more about this. And it's just, I think transparency and honesty is best, which you don't get a lot from a private company. And this, like, you know, CJ ENM has a lot of power, like a lot of power, and that's undeniable. And I don't think they have to hide that. And they're not, because they're not hiding it from their website, but it is not listed on the CJ ENM's website. So there's something that is being hidden, and that's what is causing the issue. Because if they were open about it, I don't think the conversation would be happening in the first place. But I do understand that they're trying to prevent people from taking any credit away from Ateez that they rightfully deserve, because that's fucked. But now it makes sense. Like, we always knew that Wooyoung and Yosang were trainees at Big Hit, and they left and they went to KQ. And we always have heard that when a trainee leaves to another company, the new company has to pay out the old company. And the estimates say that it's like $3 million to equip a trainee to become an idol. So that's a lot of money. And a small company doesn't just have that as like chump change lying around. And so now we know maybe where the money was coming from. And that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Good for them for being smart and getting the backing at the right time and having the money when they needed it, period.
And I mean, when you say hiding, it is kind of interesting that a lot of the articles that I found when I was looking for KQ Entertainment were talking positively about KQ, but in a way that makes them look very small. So they'll say like an article about KQ staff being like family members to Ateez, or KQ not as big of a company as you would think. So it was all like I said, there's always been this narrative.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like what's, like,
yeah,
like you
all
said,
I would say to that is, we talked about the really big companies that have investment and ties to Naver and Kakao. And those two single-handedly run communications in Korea. So if KQ can get help from CJ ENM to control a little bit of the media, then so be it. Like, it's a dirty game at the end of the day, and everybody has to play it. So suck it.
Honestly, I'm just glad we have Ateez.
Same. They're an amazing group, and they truly are committed. They truly deliver every time. So why shouldn't they get help where they can? Because that is a cutthroat industry.
And if you guys want to hear more about our opinions on Ateez, we actually did an episode in our first season, I think it was, where we talked about why we love Ateez.
Yeah. And our love has only grown since. So let us know if you want another episode on them, because we'll do it. You don't have to tell me to talk about Hwa or all of them. I will talk about Hongjung till the cows come home.
That's a fun time. So with KQ Entertainment, some recent developments as of literally this week. Literally. KQ debuted their own app called TOQTOK on this Monday, July 17th. And the description reads, get the latest updates from KQ artists like Ateez and xikers. So if you guys are Atiny, you know that back in April of this year, Ateez joined an app called B.Stage. I'm sure that's not how you read it, but whatever.
Yeah, like B.Stage, whatever.
Thank you. And this TOQTOK app is basically just B.Stage. I just like changed the name, like, because I downloaded. The interface is exactly the same. The creators, or like the company, the tech company, it's the same company. Which I thought was super interesting, because B.Stage and TOQTOK were created by this company, or developed by this company called Be My Friends No Spaces. Their CEOs, they have two, are Steve So, which is a former CEO of Weavers. Yes, that Weavers. And Bryce Lee, which is a former CEO of Dreamers Company, which we talked about a little bit earlier, that they help distribute KQ's like music.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super interesting. Also, Be My Friend counts CJ Group as an investor. So it's like all like this arroz con mango, like it's everyone's with everyone. Yeah, honestly. And Dreamers Company is also an investor on this app, and the Dreamers Company is publicly traded, and the majority owners are SK Group, SM Entertainment, and JYP.
Here's the thing. This is when we started teasing this episode. We were talking, I can't remember at this point if it was the Hybe episode or the SM episode, because that's when we're talking about the acquisition of the DRU technology company, which is what owns Bubble. Because the whole thing is that DRU acquired Universe, which was the company where Astro, Ateez, all the groups from like smallerish companies were using Universe up until January. And then they were told, hey, everybody's transferring to Bubble. And that's when Ateez was like, no, we're not. So if you heard us teasing and all that stuff about this is why we were talking about it. And this is why we always want to talk about KQ, because again, the smallest little company is not going to have all this funding to get an app and do things that basically it's like a white label app. It's not that they created it, but to do all these things that other companies don't have the resources to do. So clearly they wanted to compete with Weavers, which is the David and Goliath competition of the century, to like stand up to them and be like, we don't want to be on Weavers. We don't want to be on Bubble. We want to do our own thing.
But at the same time, if Dreamers Company is an investor and SM Entertainment is one of the majority owners, it's basically like all intertwined because SM has Bubble.
But
Crazy.
SM no longer has Bubble. That's a thing. That is the
you're
T.
right.
That is the T. And that's where, and JYP too. JYP and SM have been using Bubble, but Bubble is going to Weavers. So they're basically saying we don't want to have all our eggs in one basket, and if we can compete with Weavers at some point, we will. So this is a tea that like all the companies are not just getting along and taking it quietly in the background, and they don't want Hive to own the world.
And honestly, I don't know if you've used B.Stage, Kathy, but
I haven't used the app. I just go on the website.
I downloaded the app just because I like apps, and it has a good start, but it's still super, super, super clunky. It does have the same vibe as Weavers. I think maybe this week, actually, I started noticing that they like the little message bubble kind of messaging started. I joined the Ateez one because it was free with the membership.
Okay.
And it has like a great interface, but I don't speak Korean and there isn't a translation option within the app anywhere.
Yeah.
So anytime any of the members post, if I really want to know, I have to like go into a translation app, translate it, and then be like, oh, that's what he was saying. So it's kind of like clunky, but it's getting there.
I've heard Atiny bitching, not bitching, but saying since the app came out that it's unfortunate that there's no translations available, because that does, any time that you have to jump or like click on something to go somewhere else, it takes away from the experience.
Right.
So clearly they do have a lot of work to do on the development side.
And this app, just as a final note, isn't only for K-pop groups. This app is literally like you can start your own community pretty easily. It's not just for like famous K-pop groups or famous people in general.
Yeah.
Like companies and like other people can have it. So that's interesting.
But there is a reason why you won't be seeing MIA2K on B.Stage or TOQTOK anytime soon. Laura, care to share what happened this week?
So if you guys have used EXIMBAY and even maybe PayPal to pay for anything on a Korean website, check your credit/debit card statements as soon as possible, because a lot of fans have reported fake charges for purchases in Walmart.
And it just so happened to include Laura in that mix.
I'm one of them. So most of the people complaining have been people that have used EXIMBAY in not just B.Stage, but also like even Weavers. So I was like checking, making sure. And then today I'm at work in a meeting and I get a text message. Is it you trying to make a purchase in Walmart? And I'm like, Walmart? Walmart? This team's meeting is not a Walmart. Like, so just make sure you check your card statements.
Yeah.
Luckily, my credit card had a pretty good system, and it like the purchase didn't go through. But still, just check.
Yeah, we saw the news on Twitter with the people complaining, mostly from B.Stage's link to EXIMBAY and PayPal's link to B.Stage as well. So if you're an Atiny, first and foremost, like any fan, like Laura said, but especially if you're an Atiny who paid for the membership in April, like we did, go check, because I checked my card. I'm okay. But there's a bunch of people, Laura included, whose data was clearly leaked. It's been breached. So check your cards and make sure that you don't have a bunch of charges that are not yours, because it is racking up. And most of them happen to be from Walmart across the board, from what we've seen on like Twitter, from people sharing screenshots. So check I pay personally for the Atiny membership with my credit card. So did Laura, because we both thought, like, we usually do things through PayPal when it comes to Korea, but we were able to do it with our credit card. So we did. And so check your credit card. If not, check your PayPal, because the activity also there has been shown to have some crazy charges, and mostly from Walmart. And that's KQ.
Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the MIA2K podcast. We have lots of great content coming up ahead, so please don't forget to follow and subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you enjoyed our episodes, please rate us 5 stars.
And for the real-time tea, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook by searching for @MIA2K podcast. Dale. Bye.